With the help of the Almighty, I pray to the Almighty to bestow upon me His truth and His wisdom, that I may convey His message and so sanctify His name, and inshallah, with the help of the Almighty, bring peace to the world. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Peace to all of you. We have come here, obviously, the people who are gathered here is just a minuscule demonstration of what the feelings are of people around the world, people who people call humanitarians, but we call godly people, people who have in mind the feelings, the hurt, the pain and suffering of others. There's many, many people, untold millions of people around the world who are observing and seeing what is happening in Gaza today, and they are silent. There are some who are speaking out, and obviously in Gaza we are seeing what's happening, the terrible atrocity, the murders that is going on. And there are other people all around the world who are feeling that pain, but they are silent. And the reason they are silent is not that they don't feel what is happening. It's because they are intimidated. It is because they are fearful of being accused of being anti-Semitic, anti the Jewish people. And that is one of the terrible parts of Nakba, of this tragedy, that requires of us as Jewish people to come out here and speak. It is because of this condemnation, of this vile attack against humanity, of calling people who want to stand up for the rights of God's creation, of the Palestinian people, accusing these other people who are helping, who want to help them, of being evil, requires of us as Jewish people to stand out here and speak up. Why? Because this is false. It's patently false. There's no truth to this whatsoever. Judaism is subservience to God. It is to uphold the laws of the Torah that was given to us 3,000 years ago. This occupation of Palestine, this vile movement, this selfish, flawed political movement of creating this Zionist state has nothing to do with our religion, Judaism. It is a movement that started maybe 150 years ago. Not more, certainly not more. And yet, they have the chutzpah, the audacity, to march around masquerading in our religion of 3,000 years. They may try to do that, but eventually, they'll be uncovered. People will see what they are. They'll see that this is false, that it is evil. The Torah clearly tells the Jewish people that we shall not steal, that we should be compassionate. Just as God is compassionate, you should be compassionate. The Torah clearly states that Jews, since the destruction of the temple 2,000 years ago, are forbidden to create even 1 inch of a Jewish sovereignty. And for 2,000 years, since the destruction of the temple, Jews have been banished from one land, thrown out of another. They've been living here, they've been living there, and never have they created their own sovereignty. And it's not that there wasn't times in history that we couldn't buy a piece of land. We could have, but we accepted the rule of our Master of the Almighty, and we did not create a Jewish sovereignty till these Zionists came. These Zionists who hate and detest the Jewish religion, who are busy beating the Jewish people because they refuse to serve in their army. And that anybody can go on the internet and see. We'll show you pictures, first of all, how the rabbis at the beginning of Zionism, they stood up and pleaded with the United Nations and with the world leaders that we stand in our position because we are Jews. In the United Nations itself, in their own documents, you will find that the chief rabbi of Palestine in 1947 pleaded with the United Nations. He pleaded with the United Nations and said, Rabbi Dushinsky, we furthermore wish to express our definite opposition to a Jewish state in any part of Palestine. This is a fact. Anybody can see these documents. We plead with people to go to the United Nations documents and see. He was the leader of the Jewish community, and he pleaded with the heads with the delegation of the United Nations. And then the Jewish people who are of the Palestinian community, who are living there for hundreds of years, they continued in this path, and they demonstrated. They demonstrated against the Zionist interlopers, against these intruders to the Holy Land. And then what happened to them? The rabbis were assassinated. The ones who went to the Palestinian Authority, Rabbi Hirsch, they poured acid in his face and blinded him. The Jews till today are demonstrating. They're being brutally beaten. They're demonstrating in the streets, simply, peacefully. They're stating one thing and one thing only. You have no right to use our name to occupy another people. They're standing on the streets and pleading with the world. How much longer are you going to be silent?
Yes. Yes.
With God's help, one of the mitzvahs, one of the commandments of the Torah is to sanctify God's name. It's the biggest commandment. And because of that, Jews die, and we will continue to stand up with God's help to the end of time, if it takes that, God forbid. We will not accept this occupation in any shape or form.
Yes.
We stand because we are Jews, we are here. And we state that the Zionist state of Israel is illegitimate, is unacceptable. It's not a Jewish state. They've stolen our name Israel. They've stolen the Star of David. And they've stolen the souls of our Jewish youth. They're destroying the Jews. Our parents died in Auschwitz. My grandparents died in Auschwitz. My aunts and uncles. Almost the entire communities of Hungary in this coming month were murdered. Why? Because they were Jews. But they stood by that Judaism. They would rather die than give up their religion. And comes the Zionists, and they use their blood, this Jewish blood, to use it as a guilt ride for the world, to tell the world, you see what happened to the Jews? Now that's because you were silent. Now you have to give us this land. And if anybody stands against them, they compare them with the Nazis. And they say the Palestinians colluded with the Nazis. And they try to tell the world that standing in opposition to their occupation means that you're a Nazi. How despicable, how deplorable can this be? When our parents, grandparents died to uphold the Torah, they're rebelling. They're standing up against God and creating a Jewish sovereignty that is expressly forbidden for Jews. We're not to kill, not to steal, and not to have a Jewish sovereignty. Yet they're using the blood of our families to create this direct rebellion against God. We just went past this Holocaust. It's not so old. We have survivors of the Holocaust amongst us who still have the tattooed in their hands. They have the numbers tattooed in their hands. And they stand in opposition to this. And they cry and they say, look what they're doing with our relatives, with our brothers and sisters. Their blood they're using to create a rebellion against God. But let me say again, Jews true to the Torah, whether it is in Australia or the United States or UK or Canada, wherever it may be, anybody could come to the most religious communities. Go to Manhattan, right across is Williamsburg, Brooklyn. There's not one Israeli flag over there. It is the most religious Jewish community. There's not one Israeli flag. They stand in opposition to the creation of the Zionist state of Israel. Our hearts cry. We are humiliated. We cannot stand by. We are watching what is being done in our name, and we are frustrated because our voices are not being heard. Why is it not being heard when we have these rich, spiritually rich communities? We have distinguished rabbis. We have distinguished Jewish communities. And these communities in one voice say, we do not accept this occupation. We oppose what is being done to the people of Gaza. We cry with the people of Gaza. Why is our voices not heard? We plead with our leaders. We plead with the president. We plead with the prime ministers in Why? Please listen to the Jewish people. It's our religion. We don't stand in the face of your religion of Christianity. So we plead with you. Respect the Jewish people who are upholding their religion. And please help us peacefully and speedily dismantle this occupation. Help the Palestinian people. Don't threaten them and take their money and funding away. Help the Palestinian people. Look what is happening in Gaza. It has to be immediately stopped. We plead with you. Let us all stand together and let us pray to the Almighty. We can do, but ultimately it's in the hands of the Almighty. Let us pray to the Almighty for a speedy and peaceful dismantlement of the Zionist occupation, the Zionist state of Israel, a free Palestine, a free Gaza. They should have back their lives. And ultimately, let us not be intimidated. You are not anti-Semitic if you stand against this occupation.
Right.
Let us stand together.
Right.
And with God's help, God will see we're doing, and with His compassion, He will bring this free Palestine sooner nowadays. Amen. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Speaking yesterday will be
Thank you.
But before